Hey guys, this is Miss Rogers. Tuesdays are library day for us to come up with an activity to do that's a little bit fun but ties in a little bit with library as well. So everybody in my classes know that I'm sort of a tree hugger, which means that I love nature. I love field guides, and I love identifying and finding the names of different plants and animals. So I thought that I would share with you today a little project that I'm doing on my own during these days that we're off to help pass the time. So I'm basically creating a nature journal, which just lists some of the things that I've seen around my yard or just around my house in the neighborhood during this time that we really can't travel much. So it is not very sophisticated. I do have some websites and some apps that I'm going to show you that can help you to do this. But for example, my first journal entry was something very simple. It was just a dandelion. I didn't pick it. I just found one in the yard, drew a picture of it, and then I went online to Britannica Kids and found a fact about it, which was that Native Americans boiled dandelions and then they used it for medicine. That was a new fact that I didn't know. My second entry is actually an animal, an insect. I knew it was an insect that had a stinger, so I didn't get very close. I took a picture with my phone and then enlarged it, and there is an app called iNaturalist that you can upload pictures to, and it will tell you what species of animal it is. So I uploaded my picture of the wasp, and it gave me like 6 choices. The first one was a hornet, and when I looked at the hornet, it had more yellow in it than my wasp did, so I knew it wasn't the hornet. The next one was a gigantic insect called a cicada killer, and I knew that it wasn't it because it also had a lot of yellow in it. So the third choice down was a paper wasp, and as I looked at that paper wasp and compared it to my picture, I realized that it was indeed a paper wasp. So don't laugh, I'm not Mr. Boggs. Here is my drawing of my paper wasp. And again, I looked it up online, again on Britannica Kids, and found a fact about paper wasps. So this one says, paper wasps build their nests that look like paper out of wood that they chew up and spit out. Something new I did not know. So I'm going to show you some things around my yard before I close here in a minute that you may be interested in just going in your own yard and probably finding around this time of the year during spring. But before we walk around our yard, let me show you. Here are 3 apps that are free to use. Your parents can download them on your iPad or your telephone. The first one, PlantNet, is only plants, but it will help you identify plants such as trees, flowers. It'll even help you identify something if it's just the leaf off of a plant. You can put that in there. Second is iNaturalist. It will identify anything that is from nature. So any living thing you can take a picture of, upload it to iNaturalist. It's also free, and it will identify it for you and give you a couple of facts, but the most interesting ones you're going to find from an encyclopedia. And then third is BirdNet. I have not used this one yet, but I'm really excited to. BirdNet basically allows you to tape a bird sound that you hear, and then it will try to help you identify that bird based on the sound that it makes. So I think that's pretty awesome, and I'm going to actually try to start using that one myself sometime this week. As for websites, kyvl.org is fantastic, but you will need a password for it. I'm not allowed to post it publicly per their regulations, But if you're families, send me a message on Facebook or an email. I will happily share the password. You can also go to kids.britannica.com and search for any of the animals or the flowers or the trees that you find, and you'll be able to get an interesting fact about them to put in your own nature journal. So I'm going to try to take the phone and I'm going to attempt to walk around my yard and show you some things that you would perhaps be able to look up on your own. So you can see right here lots of dandelions. So you could obviously use those. Notice again, I'm not picking anything. I am simply just taking a look at them. It's called leave no trace when you look at things in nature and don't bother them. You leave them alone so that they can continue to grow and do their job. Here is another thing in my yard that I could perhaps look up. I don't know how well you can see it. I happen to know that this is a redbud tree, but I could take a picture of that and upload it into PlantNet or iNaturalist. I look down here on the ground and I see some of these things. We call these, let's see if I can get them. We call those helicopters because when they dry, you can throw them up in the air and they'll twirl down to the ground like a helicopter. There's a little seed in the bottom of it. I don't know if you can see it from here or not, but there's a little seed there on the bottom. That is actually from, I have forgotten what kind of tree. I'm going to have to put it into PlantNet myself and look that one back up because I have forgotten. I see a lot of little purple flowers down here on the ground. Let's see if I can show you a picture of one. Those are violets. So those are flowers that you could look up. Also, I'm going to go over here to my dogwood tree. I'm not sure if there's any blooms very close to the ground, but let's see if I can just show them in the background. There we go. Those little white blooms up above me, those are blooms from a dogwood tree. You could look those up. I have a fern growing right here. At the base of my dogwood tree. Occasionally, I see a snake in this backyard. There's an underground spring that comes up, it bubbles up in my backyard, and in the springtime, snakes love having access to that water. So I often see a snake. I don't see one right now. It's just a garter snake, wouldn't hurt you, and I wouldn't pick it up, but I would show you a picture if I could find it. Here's some nice spring flowers blooming. Those are tulips, and I have a visitor from across the street. Perhaps you can see Pumpkin. That's my neighbor's cat. So there's lots of things outside that you could look up and learn a new fact about and create your own nature journal. Maybe do some birds that you could post and show me. You know how much I enjoy watching the birds in our bird feeders at school. So I hope that this is a fun activity for you that provides a little bit of some research skills. And I hope some of you post some pictures online showing me what you've done. I sure miss you guys.